Thank you. I have no illusions that my life hasn't been one of privilege. I grew up in safe suburban Cleveland, Ohio, have parents who supported me every step of my life. My mom surprised me tonight from Florida. My education, it was paid for, and I've always had choices that I know so many people don't. Yet, contentment doesn't come with privilege. Many times, it's the women who appear to have it all together who are really struggling on the inside. We learn to become masters at concealing because life throws so many rules and stories at us. Or maybe it's the stories that we're telling ourselves that carry the most weight. Oftentimes, these burdensome tales prevent us from doing things and saying things or sharing things. Sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to feel things. I'm 42 now, so I'm learning to get better at this. I'm trying for me, trying for the women around me, and trying for my 3 incredible daughters. So I'm here to share about a time in my life when I was breaking on the inside, and I want to share how that brokenness ultimately led me to my life's work that has provided meaning, clarity, fulfillment, challenges, so many friendships, and many other gifts. I was 28 years old when I had my first daughter. At once, she was the love of my life and the worry of my days. At every turn, I stressed that I was going to drop her or not be enough for her, or worse, not even be around for her. I was a high achiever and a perfectionist by nature. And I also had an important job to do outside of my home. So much to do and so much to prove. I was trying to be this incredible mother, an incredible wife, a charitable do-giver, well put together woman, and somehow also find time to prioritize things like self-care and nutritious meals, all of the things. I didn't think to lean on many others because that's not what strong women do, is it? I didn't see a lot of examples of that happening around me. So I took it on. And I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, pumping my breasts in random locations throughout the day while working through cognitive behavioral therapy to help my brain unlearn a terrible fight or flight pattern it had gotten into the habit of being in. On top of it all, childbirth, that had literally torn me a new one. Amazing. I was breaking, but only on the inside, because that's what we do, isn't it? It's still not really socially acceptable for a new mom, or any woman for that matter, to be walking around without her shit together. And what if I told my friends, or even maybe my family, what I was actually feeling inside? Would I even be good enough to be a mother? So outside, I had it all wrapped up with a bow, like most of the other people around me that I saw. But inside, I was stressed, and I was anxious, and I was not well. And again, I knew I was one of the lucky ones. I didn't have to worry about food on my plate when I got home, or a roof over my head, or a supportive family. But that didn't seem to make the burden feel any smaller to me. In fact, it may have even added to it, because I kept thinking to myself, if other people could handle life so well, then who was I not to be? I'm not really sure how long I would have let this stress-filled, miserable time of my life play out, but luck did eventually come my way. One day, I happened upon a book that was apparently waiting for me to open it. I started flipping through the pages, and this book asked a really important question. The question was this: imagine yourself on your deathbed tonight, or maybe it's 50 years from now, and somebody stands and looks you in the eyes and says to you, was your life a complete success? And if the answer to that question is no, what would be the reasons why it wasn't? What would you have wished would have happened to make it a success? This one simple question changed everything for me. It made me realize that I wasn't approaching this life from the correct vantage point. And why? I think, again, society tells us stories and gives us frameworks to operate from, and those stories aren't always based in truth or logic, and they don't always consider a life that's well lived. Part of the story is what plays out when we turn to little girls and compliment them first on their looks and then ask them to think about what they want to be when they grow up, as if growing up is a destination and a one-stop shop. I don't know about you all, but I'm still growing up, especially right now. Especially now as I stand up here tonight. My early years didn't play out like the story I was taught to live by. I really never knew what I wanted to do. I tried a lot of things as a child. I changed majors in college. I got fired from my first job. That was the worst job in the world. I wish my old boss was out here somewhere. And all the while the world was continuing to shout at me to just be something, I should have known it was just enough for me to be. So here's how I answered the important question in that book that day. For my life to be a total success, I would need to leave this world better than I found it. I'd need to know I'd change lives for the better, starting with the people that I love the most, the people at home. So it was in that moment I knew I had to change something. My work was great and important, but I wasn't changing anybody's life. So with encouragement from my partner and best friend, whose loving suggestion to stay at home gave me permission just to be, I packed up my potential and transitioned to stay-at-home momdom. Oh, stay-at-home momdom. Another story we tell ourselves and each other. Are we going to be enough if we just stay home? What about work? What are people going to think? I am here to tell you, staying at home is far from work-free living. And it comes with just as much guilt as that which working mothers feel. I loved my life at home, but something was still missing, so I began to fill it. This time, I filled it well. Instead of doing what society told me I should do, I started doing whatever the hell I damn well wanted to. My strong desire to protect the health of those I love most drew me more and more towards the field of environmental health. I couldn't believe how few people around me were knowledgeable about the impact our environment has on us and the choices that we make, how that impacts our health. So I began taking classes. I earned my certificate in plant-based nutrition. I went to lectures. I befriended those I admired and could learn from. And sometimes this would mean that I'd be the only non-professional in a sea of professionals doing and learning things for their job, but I didn't care. I was moving towards the things that fascinated and the things that lit me up inside. I recently heard Abby Wambach speak, and she talked about going towards the things that make you warm. I loved that, and I understood that, and that is what I did for those 8 years that I wasn't working. Then one summer, my time came, and I realized it was time for me to share how all these small changes I'd been learning about could impact the health of so many. And people around me, they'd figured it out too. I was getting questions like, hey, maybe you should write a book. Would you ever consider consulting? Maybe you should do some speaking. Signs were everywhere, and I felt that it would be a little selfish not to work to serve others with the knowledge that I had. And in sharing, I would really be working towards the answer to those questions in the book and leaving the world better than I found it and changing lives for the better. So it was a win-win. So I started, one foot in front of the other, and no huge plans, no title I was trying to earn, no limits to what I would do or how I would do it. I started. It was a blog at first, sharing and partnering with people and brands that I believed in. Then I joined a company dedicated to changing the personal care industry for the better. I joined for the discount. I just really loved the shampoo. And I was never going to sell products to people that I cared about, even though I knew they were really significantly safer for their health. No way. Society had told me all about that story too, and I didn't want any part of it until I did. Here's what I found. What I found is that I had finally reached a time in my life where I knew exactly what I wanted to share with the world, and I knew exactly why. I knew that if it wasn't me, it might not be anyone. And I knew that I had to start doing more things that scared me and not giving a shit, sorry, Mom, what society was telling me, because I had played into those stories for far too much of my life, and that wasn't for me anymore. If I was ever going to start fulfilling my life's purpose, there was no time for me to be self-conscious or to shrink myself so other people could feel comfortable. So I began, and I was wobbly at first, but I was doing it anyway. And then I started asking amazing people to join me. Some of them are here tonight. Because I realized that going alone, I could not go as far, go have as much fun. And they began, and they were wobbly too. But this time, I was there to support them in a way that corporate America doesn't teach us. And then this team that I had begun to assemble grew, and we continue to grow. And today, I lead a team of nearly 500 people. Together, we serve communities across all 50 states and Canada. We're writing a new chapter on business that society hasn't told women is available or possible. We are what happens when people come together with a common vision for the same mission, when we value health, a life well lived, and each other, when we decide to lean into each other's strengths to compensate for areas where we may be personally weak, and when we are inclusive of everyone from every background, not despite our differences, but because of our humanness. On this dream team, we advocate from our living rooms and our cars while we're nursing babies or waiting in carpool lines, alongside corporate careers or stay-at-home momdom. We advocate on our own time and in our own ways, and we advocate all the way to Capitol Hill, where once again, I will be in a few weeks meeting with congressional leaders to talk to them about why our health matters and what they can do about it. We work for time freedom and financial freedom and mind freedom. In almost 7 years, I'm almost 7 years into this chapter. And most days, it's really hard for me to distinguish between work and pleasure because my work really is a pleasure. And it all began because I was able to stop listening to external stories and start writing my own. When I started taking better care of myself, I was able to take better care of my family, then make a bigger difference in my community, empowering other people to do the same, and together we're making a lasting impact on the world. You all are so nice. I still have a lot of work to do, work on myself and work for this planet, and who knows what's going to be next for me, but here is my hope. My hope is that our sons recognize the power of coming together in partnership alongside women the way my husband has come alongside me. That when we work together to empower one another, all of us and all of society can benefit. That women, we're not simply enablers, we're powerful, capable, and we're transformative. And I hope that my daughters and all of our daughters grow up knowing a different story, a story that they're enough just the way they are, a story that anything is possible, a story that it's okay to share their stories, even the hard parts, because there's no shame in our challenges. And sometimes, oftentimes, it's our dullest moments that give us our greatest sparkle.